Okay, so hello everyone. Today is Sunday, August the 20th, and we are continuing in our study of the science of mind. Sarkina, would you like to, just catch us up and you can take it away from there.
Okay, did we want to begin with just a moment of prayer?
Yes.
Just become still, sitting nice and tall, allowing the energy of the universe to flow in and through us, letting go of any challenges or previous things that we might have been doing, just kind of set them on the shelf for a little while and open our hearts and our mind to what we are about to hear, knowing that divine source is always speaking to us through many various modalities. And if we feel so inspired, allow us to share whatever it is that comes to us. And on that note, we let it be so, and so it is.
And so it is.
Okay, thank
Well, as
you.
Penelope said, we're in lesson 6, the psychic phenomena, and we're in the section entitled The Mind of History. When we remember that subjective mind is universal, we will come to the conclusion that the history of the race is written in the mental atmosphere of the globe on which we live. That is, everything that has ever happened on this planet has left its imprint on the walls of time. And could we walk down their corridors and read the writings, we should be reading the race history. This should seem simple when we realize that the vibrations of the human voice can be preserved in the receptive phonographic disc and reproduced at will. If we were to impress one of these discs with the vibration of someone's voice and lay it away for 1,000,000 years, it would still reproduce those vibrations. It is not hard, then, to understand how the walls of time may be hung with the pictures of human events, and how one who sees these pictures may read the race history. Telepathy. Telepathy, or thought transference, is such a commonly known fact that it is useless to do other than to discuss it briefly. However, there are some facts which might be overlooked unless we give them careful attention. The main fact to emphasize is that mental telepathy would not be possible unless there were a medium through which it could operate. This medium is universal mind, and it is through this medium that all thought transference or mental telepathy takes place. Forms in matter and solid bodies may begin and end in space, but thought is more fluent. Telepathy is the act of reading subjective thought or of receiving conscious thought without audible words being spoken. But there must be a mental tuning in, so to speak, just as there must be in radio. We are surrounded by all sorts of vibrations, and if we wish to catch any of them distinctly, we must tune in. But there is a great deal of interference, and we do not always get the messages clearly. We often get the wrong ones, and sometimes many of the vibrations come together and seem to be nothing but a lot of noises, without any particular reason for being. It is only when the instrument is properly adjusted to some individual vibration that a clear message may be received. This is true of mental telepathy, which is the transmission of thought. The receiver must tune in with the sender. It does not follow, however, that the sender knows that he is being tuned in on. In other words, one might pick up thoughts just as he picks up radio messages, And just as the one broadcasting may not know who is listening in, so the one sending out thought may not know who is listening in. Happily, but few people can listen in mentally, and these few only with more or less certainty of success. It would be terrible to be compelled to listen in on all the thoughts that are floating around. But fortunately, we can only receive those messages to which we vibrate. And so the whole thing is a matter of our own choice. We are individuals in the mental world, just as in the physical. And a wise person will protect himself mentally, just as he would physically. Any comments on either of those two sections?
I have a question. When he mentions race history, is
Okay.
he speaking about different ethnicities, or is he just speaking, is he using the term race to encompass all of humanity?
Okay, that is a good question. I think of it as both.
Okay.
Only because, I've grown up and been aware of the different races, different cultural backgrounds of individual. And I think society on a whole may follow, one particular race or culture that they feel familiar with.
Mhm.
But as human beings, we are the human race as opposed to the animal, plant, mineral
Mhm.
races, if you look at it that way.
Okay. One other comment, thank you for that. One other comment, that whole section on telepathy, I found it very interesting. I don't know if any of you remember, but I know when I was growing up, we didn't have digital media things like we do today. Like you turn on the radio and the station that you tune into comes in loud and clear. Well, when I was growing up, we had like a dial, and you turn the dial, and sometimes depending on where the station was located and what was between you and the station, you would have all kinds of interference, so to speak, because you're getting not only the station you're trying to tune into, but all those ones that might be in between you and that station. So that's what that kind of reminded me of, that's all.
Yeah, I know in Farmville, the station I listen to, when I go through Farmville, only comes in certain sections of Farmville. And in other sections, it's a lot of static. And there's one section where you're hearing 3 or 4 different stations at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Kind
talking
of
about.
interesting. So imagine if our thoughts were like that, where we were picking up all these, you're thinking, Andre's thinking, Penelope's thinking, and whoever else,
Mhm.
thinking without them verbalizing. We're just picking up their thoughts.
Right.
So, does anyone else have any comments on either of those two sections?
Well, I guess, no, go ahead, Andre.
I just want to agree with you all on that. I do think not only are we an antenna, and I think all nature and creation has that frequency that is in tune to the body of that keeps us in, that keeps the body and the molecules in check. So we are in tuned into something. Whether you want to call it a frequency or a radio system. What you were speaking, Ms. Harriet, and as well, Ms. Arskina, I remember having the TV where you would have to go to the TV and turn the TV on and also use the knob. It wasn't a button that you just pushed, it was a knob and it made noise. And I remember always you could hear the static and you could see the static on the TV. And it was
Mhm.
always like, well, what's that? How come that channel doesn't come in? And then you were told that, oh, well, it's nothing on that station being broadcast, but it's actually an antenna. So I think we are I think all creation, whether we invented that part of technology or it's natural, it still has a frequency.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Penelope?
Yeah, I was gonna I guess, I guess my comment is, uh, yeah, we do. I think that it is something that we have to be, I guess, like proficient in telepathy. Something that we have to practice in order to, so that in order for the messages to come in more clearly. And I just made this. I was just talking to a friend just recently, and he was telling me that of his experience that he had heard a message, and he said it was from God. He had heard a message from God, and the message is that someone in his family was about to die. And so he said he just prayed that everybody would be safe, but he didn't really at the moment. He didn't think to use discernment to find out, okay, well, what does this message mean? Who are we talking about? What's going on? How the specifics of the message. And I do believe that we can get to the point where we not only get the message, but we have the specifics to go along with the message as well, um, to avoid, mishaps, mistakes, consequences, just to get a clearer message. And that's one of the things that they were saying here is that I can't remember the line that we would like, just to, oh, okay, here it is right here. We do not always get the message clearly. If we wish to catch any of them distinctly, we must tune in. But there is a great deal of interference, and we do not always get the message clearly. And I think that is, I think that has to be purposeful. I think we have to, really do that on purpose. That you through in your time of meditation, that you are meditating to hear and to hear clearly and to so I don't know if it's and that's something that that we have often done here. We have, when we were doing our red, blue, and green uh experiments, that those are things that I think that there can be certain people that we can be so accustomed to that we can hear their thoughts from great distances, because there's no such thing as distance, in the mind. um but I just thought that it was, and like I was telling him that at the time, that because I don't think that he took it personally, but he did see it as a growing opportunity, um just to sit back and to use and to and to gain some discernment, and to take some more time. And yeah, and we hear something automatically, and we automatically think that um we are supposed to act. But I think that one of the things that through he and our conversation is that instead of action first, that we continue to listen more and listen more deeply, and to get a clearer understanding. So this is something that I think is really interesting, and something that we have already, as a group, been practicing before. So.
Mhm. Well, along the same lines, but from an opposite vantage point, it also, if you are an individual that is hearing a lot of people's thoughts, have to practice how to tune it out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of individuals who have been diagnosed as having some mental challenges will say they hear voices, and they're constantly hearing, voices, and nobody's around them talking. But I feel that they're actually picking up thoughts of other people that they come in contact with, and haven't learned how to tune that out. And so therefore they are having these mental challenges. So it's sort of a two-way street. And like, in the experiments that you've had us participate in, where we're asked to try to tune into each other, and pick up what the other is thinking, as far as the color or the, whatever the experiment has been. So it's I see it as a two-way street, learning to tune in and also learning how to tune it out.
And I
I
guess, go ahead, Harriet.
No, I was going to say, I think we all have experienced telepathy from time to time, because how often are we out of the blue, someone from our past or someone that we have not been in contact with in a long time, we think about that individual, and within a short period of time, they either give us a call, or we hear something about them, or we get a letter from them or something. It's all telepathic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it really is only one mind.
Right.
Yeah, it really is only one mind. And so, but I do think that this is really interesting, that that when we think about the transmission of thought. But okay, so I because he had gotten that message first, and that's something that I don't know if that's necessarily telepathy, because because it was premonition. So how would you, and I guess that's what taking the time would be, if we want to know if this is an actual message from someone, or or if it is some type of premonition, because all energy is the same. There's no such thing as the future in energy.
Right.
So what do you think, how do you think how do what would be the difference between, say, like telepathy, with us thinking about one another, or hearing somebody else, or hearing another person's thoughts, compared to like premonition?
Well, I don't know. I've always felt that premonition is an innate feeling that you have about something. Like, you could be driving along and all of a sudden you decide to take a different route. So you go ahead and you take that different route, and then you hear later on, either from somebody or in the news, that there was an accident. And had you been taking the route you normally take, you might have been involved in that. But for some reason, you took a different road, and you're not sure why you did it. You just did it. So to me,
Okay.
to me, that's what I consider premonition.
Okay,
Um,
so what would that be then? When prophecy, how would, when you because that's happened to me, before, when
I
I
just think
I
that, to
have
me,
heard a
that's innate
voice.
premonition. To me, that's an
Uh,
innate premonition. I don't see that as prophecy. I see that as an innate premonition.
so when you hear, so it's not only a feeling, it's because, like I said, he heard the voice. He heard somebody tell him that.
Right? To me, that's telepathy. He's picking up on the thoughts of what somebody might have been thinking in their head. That's how
Okay,
I
okay,
kind of see it.
okay, okay,
And there may
okay.
have been the thought of the divine. It's time for
Mhm.
this person to come home. It's time for this person to come back to being an energy force as opposed to a physical being.
Okay, so that is telepathy.
That's what I feel. I don't know
Mhm,
how
okay.
but other people think.
Can,
Andre or Harry, do you have any?
well,
Huh?
I looked up the word premonition, and according to Oxford Language Dictionary, it means it's a strong feeling that something is about to happen, especially something unpleasant.
Okay.
And I had that experience recently. A cousin that we called each other half sisters because of the close familial ties. She had not been doing well, and I could tell long before this that something was not right with her. Even though when I asked her if everything was okay, she would always say everything's okay. But the day that she transitioned, I woke up with a feeling that something was amiss. I couldn't put my hands on it, but then when I picked up my phone and saw that her daughter had called me, I knew exactly what it was she was going to tell me.
So
Yeah.
so I can see the difference between premonition now and telepathy. So it is a feeling. Premonition is more of a feeling, and telepathy, you can actively hear a like the thought.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
I think premonition is something that you get after the fact. You like Miss Harriet was saying, like you all were saying, you may take a, you may just decide to go down a different road that day, you know, and you get home and there's a car accident, or or you may call, you may be worried about someone because you can feel that they're not where they are. And then and as Miss Harriet said, once you when it comes to premonition, it doesn't hit you right away. Versus I think telepathy, you you may not understand it, but you
Mhm.
know it right then and there. It's like sometimes, who's talking to me? What's that? It
Mhm.
I don't want to say scares or frightens you, but you are in tune. Versus premonition usually comes after the fact. Usually you get home and see the news and go, "Woo, I'm glad I didn't take that road." Or Miss Harriet, like you were saying, you
Oh,
wake up
you
in the
mean you
morning.
find out after the fact?
Yeah, you find out afterwards.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
I was thinking, I had that feeling, and
Right.
we've all
That's the thing that made me avoid going there. Because
yeah,
y'all know,
been
how my
before.
stove was about to burn up. I mean, my house was about to catch on fire recently. That was a premonition that I had, because I didn't hear a voice, but I had a strong feeling of dread. And I couldn't figure out
Yeah.
what it was. And um, but I think that, but it is good to know I guess the meanings of these different words and situations, so that when one comes, if I do have a feeling, then I understand, okay, this is premonition, and I can still do the same thing. I can still, focus at the time to find out, so I can have some discernment what is the issue, you know, and as opposed to just acting on, like, say, like prayer. Because that's the same, like when I was talking to my friend and he was saying that that's what happened to him, he automatically just prayed that everything would be okay. I did the same thing. I automatically prayed that everything would be okay, but I still didn't go into any type of discernment to find out what the issue is, you
Hmm.
know. Hmm. And I
And
think that that's something, but you don't know it until you know it.
Exactly. And I think that's
Yeah.
what premonition is. It doesn't hit you until it's like, man, I mean, it's like deja vu.
and
It's like deja vu.
yeah,
I
and
think premonition is like deja
telepathy deals more with the physical sense of hearing, where
Yeah.
premonition deals with the physical sense of feeling.
vu.
Right. Yeah. 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 But you hear it in your mind though, right? You don't hear it out loud. I guess you can hear it out
Oh,
loud.
you
I
might,
guess you can.
you might
Yeah.
hear your name being called.
Yeah, yeah, you can, because I have had those
And there's
experiences
nobody
too.
around, and yet you heard
Yeah,
your name, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
so. Okay, are we ready
So
to move
very
on?
interesting, very interesting.
We ready to move on?
Yeah.
Tuning in on thought. Some seem to have the ability to tune in on thought and to read it, much as one would read a book. These people we call psychics, but all people really are psychic, since all have a soul or subjective mind. What we really mean is that a psychic or medium is one who has the ability to objectify that which is subjective, to bring to the surface of conscious thought that which lies below the threshold of the outer mind. The medium reads from the Book of Remembrance, and it is marvelous how far reaching this Book of Remembrance is.
Yeah, all I had to do was wait another paragraph.
Mental pictures. As everything must exist in the subjective world before it can be in the objective, as it must exist there as a mental picture, it follows that whatever may have happened at any time on this planet is today within its subjective atmosphere. For example, the experience of those who have lived here. These pictures are hung upon the walls of time and may be clearly discerned by those who can read them. Accordingly, since the universal subjectivity is a unit and is indivisible, all these pictures really exist at any and every point within it simultaneously, and we may contact anything that is within it at any point, because the whole of it is at every point. Consequently, we may contact at the point of our own subjective mind, which is a point in universal subjective mind, every incident that ever transpired on this planet. We may even see a picture that was enacted 2,000 years ago in some Roman arena, for the atmosphere is filled with such pictures. This has been called the illusion of mind, the psychic sea. This does not mean that mind is an illusion, but that it might present us with an illusion, unless we are very careful and are quite sure that what we are looking at is a real form and not simply a picture. It is very important that we understand this, for each person in his objective state is a distinct and individualized center in the universal mind. But in his subjective state, everyone in his stream of consciousness or at his rate of vibration is universal because of the individuality of the mind. Wherever and whenever any individual contacts another upon the subjective side of life, if he is psychic, for example, he objectifies subjectivity. He may see a thought form of that person, but it does not necessarily follow that he would be really seeing the person. Any comment? A lot there.
Yeah, it's a lot there. Yeah. And that uh, makes me think of what you have brought up earlier, people who have mental challenges. You wonder, if they really have mental challenges, or are we so disconnected that we can't understand how connected with life they really are, so they're drugged or canceled out or something, just because we don't have we're not aware of how the what's, I guess, the intersectionality of spirit and how it how it touches everything and everybody.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that
We
when
kind of
you
make them
are
feel that they're crazy, when in actuality, we might be the ones.
right,
Exactly.
or we're not developed enough. Like,
Right.
so they're so far developed over us. So, so I guess my question is how, yeah, okay, I don't I think I'm gonna word this wrong. but I know how we discuss it, all the way down to the the minute detail. So I probably will get the answer anyway. So I guess my question is that because we have been programmed so much to think of mental challenges as scary or bad or something negative, how do we, I guess, as individuals, turn that around so that first of all, I'm deprogramming myself from that old outdated mode of belief into the new structure, which is reality.
Mhm.
Ali, so that was that a good, so that really wasn't even, so yeah, but that's the best as I can put it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, how do I change my thoughts? I guess that's it. How do I change my thoughts? How do I get deprogrammed from prior programming to now to this new, because it's not even new, but to be conscious and awake.
I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to answer your question or not, but what's coming to me is to begin in changing how we think about ourselves and how we change our thought is to begin to acknowledge that we are a sovereign being and we are a molecule of whatever that source, that energy is, and that we are that energy and that source. We may not have the power to do the same thing. Like I can't create a life per se, but I can carry a life. As a woman, I'm given that power of being able to carry an egg within me that by certain things I do will help to create a new life on the planet. But if I don't see myself that way, I might not do the things that will bring forth a viable creative life. I might do some things like I might take drugs, drink, smoke, not watch myself when I'm walking, stumble and fall and that type of thing that might injure that life force within me. If that makes any sense. But that's, to me, to change our thought is we have to see ourselves as a beautiful, divine, sovereign being of love and light. And that helps us to change our thought rather than to feel ourselves as some lowly creature.
Right. And
Some
the-
religions and some philosophies has made us think we are.
Yeah. And that takes a lot of conscious practice to reframe our minds into seeing ourselves as positive entities in the universe.
It can be done. We can do that.
Yeah. Through meditation, through affirmations,
through this group.
Exactly. And being with people that you aspire to be like, as opposed to people that carry a lot of negativity with them.
Yeah.
And when we want to change like that, we actually can feel the bad vibe, so to speak. When we enter into a space where there is a lot of that bad vibes going on. One of the things that I found interesting in the section on mental pictures, in the second paragraph, where it says point within it simultaneously. And what I'm focusing in on is the word it, where it's capitalized. So what I'm seeing there is it's all within, and it's that spirit within us, that divine spirit that is within us.
Yes.
Yeah,
Andre, did you have something you wanted to say?
I agree. I think with where we're speaking of, um, it's a it's it's a focus. Where you are speaking, especially when it comes to mental health and things like that, and you know what we would call in our society extreme mental health, people hearing voices and things like that. It always reminds me of the movie A Beautiful Mind.
Hmm.
He
Such a good movie.
yeah, the movie A Beautiful Mind. He did not. I mean, very smart, intelligent, man. He did not know his whole life he had been walking around with his imaginary friends. And as things go on and as you get older, I think you we what's the word I'm looking for? We're not aware that we can go back into a space that we never knew that really existed in our minds or why it existed in our minds. And it may be a safe space, it may be a space of just knowing. And I think with the negativity that the negativity and the challenges as individuals, I think that can kind of break the psyche, and you can't tell what's from what, and that's where you get the word I'm going to use as far as people going mad and hearing voices and things like that. I tune it to that we are antennas, so I can't say you you're not. I can't say you're crazy because you hear voices. It's just your actions that I can call crazy on what those voices are telling you. If they're telling you green is for stop and red is to go, and you backing everybody up on traffic, you might want to stop and think about certain things. If it's just certain things. And also it plays a part of adrenaline and fear. I think the psyche can be damaged even before we even know that we have one. And it can cope as well. So I think, certain scars are just left there, and they can come out. Hope I didn't lose you all.
No. I did have one comment. Penny, you're muted, but I just have one comment that I want to make. But as we were reading this section, the thing that one of the thoughts that crossed my mind, if anybody has seen it, it's a movie called The Pope's Exorcist.
Oh yeah, I just watched that the other day.
And what I thought about was that little boy, how he was able to recall he was recalling all of the evil that the individuals that confronted him when he was in his state, shall we say. Just a comment, that's all.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, when I was speaking of the movie A Beautiful Mind, he had to learn, they dosed him up with pills, tried to say he was crazy. Brilliant man. Until one day he finally stopped and looked at the little girl that was with, this agent who he had, who had existed. And he finally looked and stopped it and asked himself, he said, wait a minute, I've been going through this for 20 years. And
How you still 7?
You still 7 years, there's something wrong. And then it dawned on him, like, okay. So I think just the same as your body can attack you with certain diseases that you are born with, I think your mind can do that as well. If you're not, if I don't want to say if you're not protecting it or something like that, but if you're not aware of the gifts that you have been given.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that this might be one of the things that is so important about finding the right type of doctor. You know, you would like to find a doctor that understands that it is mind, body, and spirit together. You
Holistic.
know, yeah. When you're experiencing any form of dis-ease, because they all blend in, and they all can be um healed at the same time, if you or at least understood, and how to
Mhm.
maintain healing at the same time.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Are we ready to move on?
Yeah. Hi, the new person that just came in. Yeah, is this Tay?
It's Ben.
Well, that's what it says on there, but Tay had just
Oh,
said that he was coming
oh,
in, and then that
oh, okay.
came in. So,
Oh,
Oh,
welcome.
okay.
is this somebody different? Is this a Ben person? Well, either way, welcome. Welcome, welcome. We right now what we are doing, we are reading The Science of Mind. We are in uh chapter 6 of The Science of Mind. We have just read Mental Pictures.
We're starting on the next section, which is entitled Conditions Necessary for the Best Results. The condition necessary for the best results in psychic work are faith and expectancy. For the subjective responds to faith and seems clouded by doubts. Doubt appears to throw dust in its eyes, while sympathetic faith and willing belief render the veil much thinner and the consequent messages much clearer. This explains why many unbelieving investigators fail to receive the desired results and go away saying that the whole thing is a fraud. Whatever the nature of the subjective may be, we did not make and we cannot change it. We shall be compelled to use this force, like all other forces in nature, according to its own laws and not according to the way we think it should act. It has been completely proved that the subjective mentality responds more completely when fully believed in, and anyone wishing to investigate the psychic life would much better accept this fact and act upon it rather than dispute it and receive no results. If the law is complied with, the results will be certain. Some psychics go into a trance while giving subjective readings, while some can do this in a normal state. The trance state varies from a slight subjectivity to a completely submerged mentality, from simply getting in tune with thought while in a conscious state of mind to becoming completely submerged in an unconscious state in order to get in tune with thought. It is never good to lose one's self-control, but many people do this and, in so doing, have brought to light remarkable evidence of the ability of the inner mind to perform wonderful tasks. To interrupt for a minute there, what came to my mind was Edgar Cayce, who did his readings in a sleeping state.
Mhm.
I don't recall any of him doing any readings while awake. Most of them were while he was asleep.
He was called a sleeping prophet.
Yes. Deep telepathic messages.
Well, wait.
It-
I mean, just
oh,
before
go
we
on.
move on to that, I just want to just make a comment. I guess
Oh,
really,
sure, no
I
problem.
think it's interesting how in this first paragraph, when they talk about the conditions necessary for best results, and for us to go with the flow. Um, I think that a lot of times we are always thinking to change something to make ourselves maybe more comfortable or less afraid or something. But this last sentence here is saying, um, let's see, whatever the nature of the subjective may be, we did not make and we cannot change it. We shall be compelled to use this force, like all other forces in nature, forces in nature according to its own laws and not according to the way we think that it should act. And I
Right.
think that that's really helpful to me, and because this is so in alignment with what we're reading in A Course in Miracles, is that just to go along with the flow. I shouldn't be trying to uh, turn it or create it into something that will be more calming or recognizable to me. You know, and when I say calming, because usually when something is happening to you, you're not afraid, but there's still something in the back of your mind saying, "Wow, this is really weird." and so I think that by being in the moment makes a really big difference in
Right.
how we experience life.
Right. We also, to go along with what you're saying, when we go with the flow of what is happening and accept certain things that are happening in our life and going with the flow, we cut out challenges. We don't challenge ourselves and make it difficult. When we go with the flow, all the pieces sort of fall into place at the time they're supposed to fall into place, and we learn more of whatever it is we're supposed to learn. When we try to change it and go against the flow, like a salmon swimming upstream and going against the current, we make our lives a little more difficult. And we see life from that vantage point as opposed to seeing life with all the pieces falling into place at the proper time. Okay, we'll move on. Deep telepathic messages. It is possible at times for a psychic to tell one most of the incidents that have happened in his life, and also to tell of his friends and many of the incidents that have happened to them. This is done by entering the subjective realm of the individual and reading the thoughts and mental pictures that are hung on the wall of his memory. When a psychic tells one something about his friends, he is entering their thought through the sympathetic vibration of the one whose thoughts he is reading. We are always in mental contact with our friends on the subjective side of life, and a psychic, tuning in on those vibrations, reads the thoughts that come over the mental wireless. Any comments there?
Well, I guess the only comment that I have is just kind of like what Harriet was talking about earlier. When when you think about somebody that that you haven't thought of in a while, then but I think that I often think it's because that person is thinking about me too.
Yeah.
That we're both having this, and so yeah, it is, I guess, whoever acts first is the one who actually, will pick up the phone or whatever. But I do think that it is interesting, um, because I have had, had opportunities to, think about something. I said, well, so and so's at the store. Let me just say, bring home bread, and they brought home bread. Although it wasn't on the list, and so I think that when we allow ourselves the freedom to explore the mind, without exhaustion, because it doing anything with the mind can be very, very exhausting. So yeah, but I think that just to give ourselves the freedom to explore the mind is really an interesting thing to especially when we want to send or receive messages.
And it's also possible that you are a good sender of a
Mm-hmm.
message.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of confirms when you send out a thought and then it happens, that you're a good sender also,
Mm-hmm.
or a
Mm-hmm.
very good receiver.
Oh, a good
Whatever the case
receiver.
may be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Reading the history of the individual. Often a psychic will enter a person's mentality and give him a fairly complete history of his past and of the family from which he came, going back, perhaps, for several generations, naming ancestors and the things that engage their attention while on earth. He is reading the records of what has already happened and is a subjective remembrance of his family. For instance, people have often said to me, I saw Emerson standing behind you this morning. Of course they did not see Emerson. What they saw was a mental picture of him. The reason being that I am a student of Emerson, and each is surrounded by the forms of the people he knows and the forms of those whose thought he studies. Any comment there?
Yeah. I'll let somebody else go first.
Anyone?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. The thing. Okay. So this whole thing about the mental picture that like okay, he was saying that that somebody could see Emerson behind him, and he's saying it wasn't Emerson, actually, but it was Emerson's mental picture that somebody else was seeing. So how does yeah so how do we prepare ourselves to, or do we prepare ourselves to be that open, or is it something that we kind of like evolve into, grow into, expect, or you know
Well, he said earlier about the believing. When we
mhm,
believe
yeah,
something,
yeah,
and let go of our doubt about it, but we believe it
mhm,
fully, we're capable of doing just that. And if we believe ourselves to be intuitive beings, sometimes knowing certain things about the other individual, we're able to be more intuitive into, where they might be, or if they're coming over or they're going to call, you know. But it's a matter of believing. And it's a
mhm,
matter of what Andre had said earlier, focus. This particular individual said that he was a student of Emerson. So naturally, the thoughts of Emerson being around him, the spirit of Emerson being
mhm,
around him, would be there because he focuses on that particular individual.
right,
Um,
mhm,
I see myself, in a sense, as a good choreographer. So when I
mhm,
hear music, right away, dances start to come to me that sometimes I have to pull over the side of the road to jot it down because it's coming so fast. And
mhm,
on the other hand, I'm not very good at remembering my dreams,
mhm,
partially because I believe I leave my body when I go to sleep. I don't stay in my body. So therefore, I feel that's probably maybe why I don't remember my dreams. It may not be, but that's how I
mhm,
believe. And so therefore, when I
mhm,
do remember a dream, I remember it down to the finest detail, but
mhm,
I don't remember
mhm,
my dreams all that, that often. But it has to do with our belief and our faith
mhm,
within
mhm.
ourselves.
Right, right.
And said earlier.
Oh, so and um and just like he was saying, and I don't mean to hog up everybody else's time, but one of the things that he had said earlier was that this is something that everybody has. Everybody's psychic. We all know
Mhm.
that we're all psychic. So, if we do win, well, yeah, if we do learn how to use um uh this part of our psyche effectively, that's that thing that can really actually change the world, because we really won't be seeing um people in that negative way, or a harmful way, or and I mean, for everybody, if everybody had that experience, we wouldn't be trying to harm one another, because we would know exactly who this individual is. So this is a good program to aspire to.
And as you were speaking, what came to my mind is, why do individuals feel they have to change the world? I feel we have to change ourselves, and as we
Ourselves.
change ourselves, we are changing others.
Exactly.
And that, and the world is going to exist as the world needs to exist, and as the world wants to exist. This planet is what I'm
Right.
talking about when I say the world. But it's society and the human beings within society that have to change. And I'm a firm believer that I can't tell anybody to change. They have to want to and do it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because that's the only way that change happens. You're right.
Right. And
Exactly.
to
And
me,
That
keep
being
in
said,
mind. Oh,
just real quick, with that being said, in the way that we just broke that down, is belief a part of our psyche that helps us manifest what we want?
very
I
good.
think so. Mm-hmm.
I mean, question. I mean, how do
Yes.
you all feel
Yes.
about it? Okay.
Yes.
mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
I was thinking about that the other day because, it's so, the words, the spoken voice, when you hear a word spoken to you, you have a tendency to believe it,
Mhm.
and that's one of the first things. So I think that also is a part of, whatever our psyche is, in order for us to, to become civilized or be part of a social group or something like that. I don't know that much about sociology or psychology to really be able to use the right words. But I think that, yes, belief is very important to
What we manifest?
what we manifest.
Mhm.
Yeah. And how we go about on our day-to-day living.
Exactly. And going back, um, as was already mentioned, the only person, the only being that we can change is ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when we make that change in ourselves, whatever the change might be, keep in mind that we're being observed by others who will see the good that that change has made in us. Excuse me. And it will inspire them to try and make a change. So when we change ourselves, we help others to or give each other the desire to want to change.
And we don't need to know that they're doing that. We just need to be true to our being.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
understand. Y'all got me heavy on this one. What do you do with the shock and awe of change within yourself to other individuals? Because we are speaking of um we all agree that change is not something the world has to do. The world is going to do what the world is going to do. I definitely agree.
Right.
It'll shake us off like fleas if it wants to. You know? But as far as our um, psyche and our vibration to the world, and then us, and then our which connects us all to each other, how do we handle the shock and awe when others see us change and we're no longer in that vibration that we may have been in, and they don't understand?
I can. Yeah, I
Well,
know.
Before we move on, our new guest, Ben, has raised his hand, and Ben, you need to
Oh.
Tay in
unmute.
the house.
hi, Ben.
That's
Oh,
Tay.
He needs to unmute so we can hear what he has to say.
yeah. Oh, he's using Zoom etiquette and everything.
Tay,
But you
Tay,
have
can
to,
you
but
come
you have
in?
to unmute.
Yeah, can you come in, or is it just that you just high fiving us? Give us a signal.
Maybe it's just a high five. I don't know. Well, it said he raised his hand.
Oh,
Oh, he
Yeah.
wants
go
to know
to
how to
your
unmute.
go to your microphone. Go
But if
to
he
your
can raise
microphone.
his hand, yeah. If he know how,
Go to the microphone down in the lower left-hand
corner.
thing of your device and hit it.
And
Yeah,
you may
'cause
have to, and you may have to do it
I
by,
can't unmute you. But maybe, yeah, I can't unmute you. Host not allowing me. What does that mean?
you have to
Host
go
is
to
not-
your, well,
I
as a
see
matter
it's
of fact,
host.
mine did that the other day. Mine did that the other day, Tay. You may have to come in, you may have to go out and let Pim bring you back in. And then when it comes on and it says voice recording, you know, go ahead and hit the record button and then go to and on your microphone, it should show up digital or Wi-Fi and hit the Wi-Fi button. It should be the button on top for your mic. And that's how you got to come in. So try coming in and coming out.
He did send a message, how
Mhm.
do I unmute, and host not allowing me?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Well,
I
that's
don't
what Andre
understand.
was telling him. He may have to go out and come back in,
Uh-huh.
and now
Because
be
I
letting
did
you
that the
in.
other day. I hit the wrong button and it hit me
And it
on
said that
digital.
it said host wasn't allowing you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
that-
hit the digital button instead of
Oh,
hitting the Wi-Fi. I hit
oh.
the digital on
Well, that
accident.
must be something I need to do on my end. That might be something I need to do on my end. There might be, you know,
okay. It's still
Oh,
showing him
no.
as muted. It
You're
still
muted
shows him as
again.
being muted.
So what? So it must be on. It
You
must
on
be
mute?
something. It must be something. Well, let me pause this for a second, y'all.
Is this, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we
got
hear
you
you.
there.
Yeah, yes.
We
Okay.
can
Hey.
hear you.
Hey, hello.
Welcome.
What's up? Yeah, I'm starting to get used to this Zoom. I still got my training wheels on. My apologies.
Oh no,
That's
no! I thought
okay.
it was me. I did. I thought it was me.
Yeah, when I first hit the mute had the line, the mic had the line through it.
Right.
Mhm.
So then when
Yeah.
I clicked it, it said host is not allowing participants to unmute at this moment.
See, I
And
don't
then
even
when
know.
Andre said go out and come back in, it asked me the same thing, digital Wi-Fi. So it let me come
Yeah.
straight in now.
Well,
Oh, okay, good.
that's amazing. So thanks
Hey,
so much.
Andre knows a little bit about computers. Yeah.
It's not computers, it's a phone.
You have a
You
question or a
don't know nothing
comment?
about computers.
You have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I remember Andre was saying something about the shock and awe.
Yes.
Okay, and in light of the technical difficulties, you mind if I ask him if he asks that one more time, because I got sidetracked into trying to get this science project together.
I got you. Yeah, I got you, brother. How do we as individuals deal with the shock and awe from um our our other vibrations, our people who we vibe with, our surroundings when we change? There's always a difference. How do we deal with it when they don't understand our change, or they can't understand that we have leveled up, and they can only see
Right.
us in a certain in a certain light. They can only remember us and see us for it in a certain light versus what we have done now.
I would say, to answer that, well, based on my experience, is first and foremost, you got to come into the journey of awakening with a point of view that, anything can happen. Everything, whether good or bad, it's all just an experience that you have to, it doesn't matter what somebody else does. It's the shock and awe of it is how you respond to it.
Mm.
Right.
So it bounces back towards you on how you end up digesting their feeling.
Right, because you could say shock and awe like, "Ooh, this is beautiful," or "This is the worst thing in the world."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so
and with either way, individuals outside of you will either pull towards you or pull away from you. How do you deal with the ones that pull away from you,
You
Oh,
realize,
even knowing that they love you?
right. And that's your experience. That's your experience in being on a different frequency. Like a drop of water can't stay on that metal too long without vaping out.
Okay, yeah.
You know, it's the reaction to you leveling up. You know, if they didn't have no reaction, then that means you ain't. Well, I'm gonna tell you what my therapist said: don't nothing change unless nothing changes.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
you wouldn't get no reaction if you didn't change. So that's number one. You change if you got a reaction.
Okay.
it's part of the growing process,
Right.
and they may not be ready for that change. And they may be shocked that you've changed, but they may not be ready for that change. But you have to understand and love them enough that you can accept that they can't accept your change, and just,
Right.
as Penelope had said earlier, also go with the flow. But it's all part of our evolving and in our growing, that we grow at different rates and at different times in the process. And it is that experience.
Okay.
I know from personal experience, when I decided to leave the Catholic faith, my parents had a hard time dealing with it. And at the time, I was only about maybe 12, 13, 14 years old. And they had a hard time dealing with it, but they couldn't help me because they weren't ready to see that they had actually taught me to be that way, to be a free thinker, to think for myself and not to follow the crowd just because that's what the crowd is doing. And they had a hard time with that. And there was a part of me that felt they're just not ready to realize what they've taught me. They were saying one word and saying things to me and growing, but they weren't actually hearing what they were saying and believing in what they were saying. And that. So I don't feel, in a sense, that we ourselves, when we change, it's a gradual process. It's not something that just happens overnight. We may think of, I want to change this about myself, but you can't just do it overnight. It's a gradual process. And some of the friends that you have will stay with you, even though you're changing, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you decide, well, I'm going to go into metaphysics and go to bed and then wake up while I'm in metaphysics. It's a gradual process over time. And just like with smoking or eating or drugs, any of that, to quit any of that, it takes a process. You don't just, quit overnight. You still maybe have the hankerings. I know my son, for example, he hasn't smoked for 2 months. He gave it up. And it was a gradual process. And he still says he has a hankering, but he can be around people who smoke, but it doesn't bother him. He doesn't get that urge to smoke. But it's been a 2-month process.
Yes, and even on that notion, when you level up, and I guess I hope I'm not going in a circle, but when you level up, or as I'm going to say it right now, when you change your vibration and you are taking time to look inward to yourself, are you also I think, well, I'm not asking the question now. I think you also have to be aware of the new information that you are getting, because it's like it's again like uh, feeding. It's like feeding a child almost. You can't overfeed a baby because they'll throw up. They got the nutrients, but you overfed. So with that leveling up, is it as a way that that we do not shine upon the people who have not gotten to that vibration at that point in time?
If I
Is
can
it
jump
So,
in, I think that if
okay,
you
good.
just if we be true to our change, you
Mm,
know, or uh, we have to be as authentic as we possibly can. And if we have changed, then we got to be true to that. We have to grow into it. We have to explore it. We don't have to, we haven't changed if you're going to hit somebody over the head with it. It's not really change.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
something different. But
Right.
I think that, everybody can, and that's, I think that this is one of the things that this was saying earlier, is that we all can feel each other's vibrations. So, they
Mhm.
might be, because, you have a new frequency, sometimes they don't always match up to that other old frequency. There's going to be a little bit of tension there, but that also creates a new frequency. So, there's always growth in every area, I think.
Mhm.
I think also, like when you change your frequency, you're not the only frequency that is changed by that. Other people
Hmm.
around you's frequencies is
Hmm.
gonna be getting
Right.
hit by you. They're like, where is this coming from? They
And
don't even
that's what
know
I
how
was
to
saying, Shaka.
explain it. You know what I'm saying? They don't even know what's going on. And they thinking you the same old, and they coming around you and they can't pinpoint it, but they're acting differently because
That's what I
they
was
just
thinking of the
haven't had the
Shaka.
conversation with you or know how to deal with you, you know. And it's like, and then there's a multitude of people that you haven't even came across. Your frequency is going that far out to where even the universe is,
Yeah.
sending frequencies back to you, like, checking, like, are you for real this time? Are you okay this time? I'm about to get ready to, put you to the test, and all that other stuff. That just from my experience. So
Yeah,
that's how I feel about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
good.
that's why I was saying Shaka. And I thank you, Tay, for helping me, because I felt I was on a hamster wheel just now.
Yeah. And this is right up my alley right here. This is, like what I had spoke with Miss Penn earlier. So that's all I'm about right now is figuring out this new frequency I'm on
Yes,
right now. Yes,
it's
ma'am.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Okay, we ready
And
to
You
it's
move,
want
we
we
ready to
want to
move
go ahead
on?
on, because we on it's 3:18. So.
Okay, well, let's just take this one last section, then next week we
Mhm.
can start with this other part. This section is entitled Personal Readings. One is surprised when he goes to a medium and is told his own and perhaps his mother's name, and is told by the medium that his mother stands beside him. The psychic often tells just how she looked while in the flesh. Now, it might or might not be that what the medium says is true, for while this personality might be consciously near, the chances are more than even that she is not, but that the medium is simply looking at a picture of her as she once was while in the flesh. A medium might, by reading one's objectivity, be able to tell something about people who were not present at the time, because each, through a sympathetic vibration of thought, is connected with the subjective emanations of those whom he likes, of those with whom he is associated, and of those to whom he vibrates. These people might be in the flesh or out of it. The personal reading appears to be limited either to the immediate individual or to someone with whom he is in contact. The value of subjective mind reading is more or less uncertain. Generally, all that a psychic can tell is about something that has already happened or something that might happen as the result of a subjective tendency already set in motion. There are, however, deeper messages than these. Any comment? Questions, concerns about that?
Well, yeah, well, I have had some medium readings, and and psychic readings too. And some of them, I had one friend who was a medium, and she was phenomenal. She's just recently passed on, but she was phenomenal. She was, so specific, and all of her details. I mean, you knew she was talking to who she was talking to, because I mean, I know Uncle Charles, you know. So, but also I've gone to mediums who, uh, you know, I'm I'm glad I was able to give you $40 because you obviously need it because you are not a very good actor. But I think that I do think that, when we are um growing and becoming who we're supposed to be, I think you have to be, especially if you're doing a reading for somebody else. I have to be as honest as I possibly need to, as I possibly can, because it is a connection to the divine. And if I want to be a part of that connection, then I have to be as spot on as I can be. And with that, you just simply allow yourself to be the channel, to allow yourself to be the vessel, and let spirit does what spirit needs to do through me or through us.
Mhm. Anyone else?
Okay, well, we might
Well,
get on to
okay, Harriet, were you going to say something?
Not really. It's just
Oh.
that we do have, we are here until 4, are we not?
yeah, we're here
Oh.
till 4, but I usually start winding down around about 3:30, 3:35. Then we
Oh,
start,
okay,
then we do the round table.
right.
Uh-huh.
Okay. We all, whether we realize it or not, are using some of our psychic ability when we're around our friends and they ask for advice or
Mhm.
just in general conversation. I've noticed here when we get together, whether it's on Thursdays or Sundays when I'm getting together with you, that somebody may be talking and they start to pause and they're trying to think of a word, and sometimes I will interject something or somebody else will interject, and it's exactly what that person wanted to say or the word that they were looking for,
Yeah.
because we've picked up on what they're saying. I know with Andre especially, I tend to pick up, because Andre and I, over the years that we've known each other, we tend to give each other food for thought, and sometimes we do lock horns a little bit, but it's out of love from either one of us, because we're very in tune, I think, with each other in a certain aspect that we may not even be aware of. Today, for example, I had asked Harriet when we first started, because my marker was in between two sections and I didn't know, which section it was. So I asked her, and Penelope, when you came in, you asked the same thing that I had asked Harriet. So it was showing in a sense that, we were all eager to start where we were going to be starting, but we were all relying on each other to help each other. And Penelope, or not Penelope, Harriet, I think you said, sometimes we do need the help of each other, and that too, I think, is showing our intuitive psychic ability to realize that so and so can help me learn something, and so can help me do something, and even our own children sometimes help us to grow into better individuals because of the challenges that they give us.
Mhm. Mhm.
Anyone
Mhm.
else?
I agree, Miss. I agree, Miss Oskina, always. On what you say, it has always been easy for me and Penelope to have a vibration because it's not only just a vibration of thought, it's also blood. That's why I was gonna laugh and say, I've never met Uncle Charles a day in my life, but man, he don't leave people alone. He always mess with somebody. I mean, he always there, and I find that very centering because I feel where I get most of my I don't want to say psychic ability because I'm just not going to use that word.
Mhm.
But my cognitive and thinking and my spirituality, I get that from my grandmother's side, which is the Washington side. I pull towards Penniman Road so much
Mhm.
that it's an in tune. So and that's where it leads me to what you were saying, Miss Arskina, as well. Is I was so peaceful when we went to Yogaville. I it was something that was incredible, and I'm still showing pictures to everyone. You know, and for us to for the times that we have been face to face, it's always a genuine connection. Miss Harriet as well, it's something that we can kind of lock in. I'm glad Tay is here as well, so I can speak on that as well real quick. I'm not doing a round table. I'm gonna stop after that, but it's a vibration that I enjoy and that I don't mind, like you said, locking horns with. If we have a dis if I don't understand you, I won't say a disagreement. If I don't understand where you're coming from, you take the time and the patience to see where and teach me, and I will do the same for you. Most people don't do that on a daily basis. So this is this chapter makes me think of that because I did bite somebody's head off today. So
It was just
the
one
day that
little
don't go by,
head.
I'ma get me a head. I'm gonna get me one. So
Well,
thank
it
you all
is
for that.
it is 3:28. Do we want to go ahead and read Stream of Consciousness? I think we can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Streams of consciousness. Each being an individual identity in mind is known by the name he bears and by the vibration which he emanates. For while we are all one in mind and spirit, we each have a separate and an individualized personality. This is the only way that spirit can individualize, making it possible for many to live in the one. Each, then, is represented by his stream of consciousness, and each, continuously functioning in mind, builds around himself an aura or mental atmosphere, which, in its turn, is constantly flowing out as a stream of consciousness. Because of the unity of mind, each is one with the all, and at the point where he contacts the all, he universalizes himself. This will be easily understood when we realize that man always uses the one mind. He is in it and thinks into it. And because it is universal, his thought may be picked up by anyone who is able to tune in on that thought, just as we pick up radio messages. A radio message broadcast from New York City is immediately present all around the world. Hard as this concept may be to grasp, we know it to be the truth. Let us shift the basis to mentality, and we shall see that the same thing happens when we think. We think into the one mind, and this thought is immediately present everywhere. It is in this sense that each one is universal. According to the unity of mind, thought is everywhere present, and so long as it persists, it will be. What is known in one place may be known in all places. Any thoughts on that, or shall we continue?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what this is even saying. that was really big to me, and just understanding that, okay, this is right, really explaining how we are one in, I mean, yeah, we are many inside the one as an individual. You know, I can see myself as an individual in the one, as the many in the one, and how there is still only one consciousness, although it seems like it's a lot of different thoughts. But even when you think about that, you know, I think that that's why we have these things called genres, because there's still one flow that is within that big one thing. You know, there are some people who have criminal minds. There are some people who have, very altruistic minds. There are people who have, all of these different thoughts. But all of those thoughts can be categorized into that one thing. So you can see how there is only one stream of consciousness through
Um,
through the many different ones. Really reminds me of string theory.
Yeah, I sort of disagree and sort of disagree. I see the one mind and the thought coming out of that one mind, but I see the consciousness as being the individual, because we're not all conscious of being conscious of the one mind and the one thought, and that we're all thinking in that. Because there are some people, like you had said, there are some people who have more of they take what comes to them more on a criminal level, or on a greedy, how can I get what I want out of this? How can I manipulate this to my satisfaction without thinking of how it might hurt or harm another? But it's all coming from that one mind, but it's how they respond or interact with that. And that's the consciousness. Do you see how I'm kind of agreeing with you, and yet at the same time, Penelope, kind of disagreeing?
I like that. I like that perfectly, because it's what I was getting from it. What I was just kind of just had my eyes closed, just listening. It's a consciousness of, I am. There's only one I am. You can only say that to yourself. Like if me and Andre say it, we can't say I am. It would have to say we are.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the higher consciousness above that, whether the individual is conscious of that or not, that's part of the, I know it to be what an I am is, because they are who they are, whether they know it or not. And I am who I am because I explore that. I want to know who I am. I'm diving into that. Now, whether they're just surface level, higher frequency, low frequency, they're sitting watching the football game, eating popcorn, or somebody else is in the Himalayan mountains, whatever. They play a role. They suck up air on this planet just like you do. They drink the water. If they suck it all up, you ain't gonna have none. Then you're gonna be, where's they at? Because I ain't got no water. I ain't got no air. You'll find out how small this planet really gets when it comes down to the nitty gritty. But and that's part of. I feel like that's part of an elaborate something, scheme of us to try to keep us away from this collective consciousness. Like, I am my brother's keeper, keep the peace, everybody, all that type of energy, that frequency of keeping us together is definitely not conducive to the people who want to keep things at the status quo of madness and mayhem.
Divide and conquer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree with you all. I'll make it short. I agree with you all. Miss Harriet Tay, y'all may know what I'm talking about. It reminded me of arm, leg, arm, head. the body is the body, the
Mhm.
mind is the mind, but it's all intact and it's all what it's supposed to be. So our cells in our bodies, are not walking around here. Our cells in our
Hyper
bodies are
position,
not
yeah.
walking around here saying, "Yo, you can't come near the heart," you know. And and then actually, you do have cells that do that,
Yeah.
So we are one big organism, just the same as this planet is an organism. And if you go bigger, we are all connected in that way.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you do have your T cells that attack anything that comes to your body. Don't care what it is, so I think, once we're looking at it from a bigger point of view and kind of looking at ourselves, like you were saying, Tay, as far as I am, not saying nothing is wrong with thinking individually, saying I am, but looking at it from a point of saying we are when we are in a collective, because you're never alone, even in the bathroom.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right.
You're
Mhm.
never alone,
Yeah.
even in the bathroom,
That
so
log is going somewhere.
something is in there with you.
Somebody's gonna be affected by it.
You know, we're never, I don't care how clean your house is, you're never 6 feet away from a spider. So, you're never alone, so it's just the organism. So
Yeah.
that's how I interpret it, as to, yes, look for me as, can I become a cancer? No, I don't want to become a cancer in this body of what we call creation. I don't want to take it over. It knows what it's doing. So that's how I looked at
Thank you.
What about you,
Um,
Harriet? Yeah.
I, well, to me, as we're reading this, what I am seeing is, uh, I'm not sure of the exact decade in which Holmes wrote this. Was it the 30s or 40s? Whenever he
Yeah.
wrote it.
Yeah, it was like
What
20.
I'm
20.
20s? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
1926.
whatever it is,
it.
just come forward to the 70s when Helen Schuckman and William, I can't think of his last name now, but when they put together the Course in Miracles, and what I'm seeing is the Course in Miracles as it was interpreted in the 1920s when Edward Holmes wrote this, put together this thesis. And to me, what it says is that we are one. We are all a part of the universe. We are all of one mind. But over time, the viewpoint might change because of things that are going on within our society. But we are all still one, no matter what time period we're looking at. And that's the message, not only of this Science of Mind, but also the same message that we get from A Course in Miracles.
And because it's only one truth.
Exactly.
It's only one
Thank you.
truth. We might see it different ways.
Mhm.
Just very much like a kaleidoscope. There's everything it looks different, but it all fits together. It all joins in as the same thing,
And it's
and
beautiful.
it's actually beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we would just let it be, if we would
Mhm.
just let it be beautiful, because it really is. Because I'm gonna tell you what, the Catholic religion is some of the most beautiful imagery that you could ever see. Lots of gold and tapestries. It's so beautiful. When you look at different people, how they decorate their churches or synagogues or mosques, those things are, I mean, it's the most ornate, beautiful things in the world. It's just that we have, I don't know, for whatever reason, fear. I think fear basically is the main thing. we just don't see the beauty and connect it all, you know, to be that one consciousness. Okay, it's 3:41. So I guess that would be my roundtable. What did I get from today's session and how can I apply it to my life? I got a lot out of today's session. I mean, you know, this whole thing about um uh you know, having a correct mind, correcting how, you know, correcting doesn't, you know, meaning, you know, fixing what's broken. That's what I mean when I say correcting. The things that, you know, that are in my consciousness, in my, you know, conscious awareness, that, you know, these are some things that, you know, that are fixable and changeable and renewable and flexible and, you know, and all of those things. That's what I got from today's session, is that I'm always growing, you know,
Mhm.
and I'm always learning something new. And I can always apply everything, you know, there's something new to my life. And one of the things that I really want to apply is telepathy, you know, just to get to this point where I can, you know, I'm tuning into my thoughts so well that I can pay attention to messages that are coming to me from spirit. So that's me.
Or
Who's next?
another human being.
Or another human being, exactly. So go ahead, Harriet. How about you? You spoke up.
Um, there was so much in today's readings that when I go back and look at it, um, understanding, knowing, and being empathetic with others, and also being able to listen to someone else, even though I may not necessarily ascribe to what it is they're ascribing to. I can listen and understand, listen with understanding what it is they're saying, and empathize with them, but not necessarily go along with their program, but show respect for them and their way of thinking and their way of looking at things. It could be that they're much more advanced than I am, and I'm not able to see what it is they're, you know, trying to show me. But over time, eventually, it will all come to light.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Who's next? Andre?
I'll take it. Um, Today was a lot of meat. It was
Mhm.
juicy like a steak. I mean, I have identified and I have learned a lot. And what I really want to do is to be able to not only hold this knowledge that I'm being given through vibration, but not, but make sure that this this Akashic record is I'm in the positive section. You know, I know what can go on in the other vibrations, but I much rather be in one, you know, where I'm supposed to be. If I'm, like I said, arm, leg, arm, heart, head. If I'm supposed to be in the body of creation, then and I'm supposed to be at the heart, then that's where I'm at. I do what I do. If I'm the arm, if I'm in the arm, I have to be with the people that are in the arm. You know,
Mm,
I'm looking at it from that point of view
mm,
versus just that I'm floating around in space on a
mm.
big blue ball.
Wow. Cool. Cool. Thank
Yeah.
you. How about you, Tay?
Uh, uh, but first and foremost, I want to say thank you guys for inviting me again. Really appreciate it. What I had got from in the last, because I came in a little late. I just like always, just to respect others in their own frequency, in their own vibe, in their own energy. Just another layer that of confirmation of, you know, we all are one. Especially if we're thinking about it, especially if you're a truth seeker, I believe, and doesn't matter how you get to the destination as long as you get there. And like me right now, I'm on a place to where I'm trying to change myself, 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 you know, and you guys are just confirmation that I'm on the right track, because the frequency that I am consciously making an effort to put out is one that I received because I didn't get this. I don't get it overnight, and I didn't get this overnight, and you know, it's cool to have. I would like to call you guys, you know, don't get hung up on the word, but journeymen, fellow journeymen, on my travels to, self awareness and just oneness with the grand scheme of what's going on in this realm, plane, reality, whatever you want to call it, dimension, whatever.
Oh, thank you so much. No, we are like-minded people. We love people who come together and offer, just their thoughts and share. What about
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
Sakina?
Well, as I was reading this, what kept coming to my mind was something that Mahatma Gandhi had said was, be the change that you want to see happening in the world. And to add to that, to be the light and love that can be manifested through each and every one of us as we allow ourselves to grow and to be true to who we truly are. And I felt that that's what Ernest Holmes was saying in what he wrote here, was to realize that we all come from this one mind, this source, whatever you want to call that divine energy. And at the same time, we're individuals. And as each of us change and grow according to how we feel and are moved and desire to do so, that we bring about that light and that love. We manifest whatever it is that needs to be manifested through each of us to help others to grow. And we don't have to be a parent, in a sense, to our friends and everyone around us. We need to be more of an example of that light and that love through everything we do, whether it's from cleaning the toilet bowl, washing dishes, to meditating in the most beautiful cathedral, beautiful mountainside, wherever. But to see it all as sacred and beautiful, because we are there. We are that beauty because we've been given that beauty. We just have to remember and believe that it is us. And all those around us are beautiful and doing the same thing, but at the particular time that is right for them. We don't have to be the instigator and tell them, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. We can just be who we truly are and to be that. So that's what I kind of got out of this lesson, and also from what each of you have shared. I'm grateful for that.
Cool beans. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that's one of the things that I want to say about Inner Haven is that because, we are a discussion group, and we understand that sometimes ideas change from my mind to my mouth. you know.
Yeah.
And eh, but first of all, I think we know one another enough, and we're mature enough in our spirit, in our sense of spirituality, that we allow people, you know, we give people the respect that, you know, that how grown folks are. But also, it, I think it's because we understand the whole principles of love, you know, and you know, love is not only, you know, it's not always soft and fuzzy. You know, love can be, you know, tough, and love can be inspiring, and love can be, you know, elemental. And I think that we because we see each and every one of us, we see that potential in who we are. And I think we, you know, kind of like iron, you know, classes against iron. You know, we learn how to balance our lives from one another. And I really appreciate you all so much for, you know, helping me understand my growth, and helping me understand that, you know, hey, I'm a pretty all right chick. So thank you all. Thank you all. Okay, let's see. We don't have anything else until Wednesday. Wednesday we have A Course in Miracles. That's from 5 to 6:30. Thursday morning from 11 to 12, we're having like healing conversations. I guess that's what we can call them, health conversations. We don't have a name for it yet. They came in the place where Forrest did his I am sessions, but now we are just coming together, talking about things that, you know, things that bring in our spiritual, mental, and physical health. You know, so right now we have been talking about energy, since we are energetic beings. So that's what it is. So, you know, please join us for that on Thursday mornings, from 11 to 12. And then on Thursday evenings, we have our book group that is from 7 to 8:30, and we are continuing in the book Flight. And if that's not that's that's some crazy stuff going on in that book.
Man, that's
That's
an autobiography.
it's such a good book. I mean, you know, what twist and turn is going to happen this week?
I
You know,
know.
it's amazing. It's such a good story. But so that's from 7 to 8:30 on Thursday evenings. And let's see. Next, I don't have my calendar handy, so I don't know what's happening next Saturday. Maybe nothing. I don't think anything is happening next Saturday, but I think next Sunday is the last Sunday of the month, and Richard Josie is going to be giving us. We're his experiment, so we're his guinea pigs on his test subjects. He's going to be testing out a new program called the Bear, and I can't remember what it's an acronym for something, but it's all about how you become within your deep mental thoughts, how how you are identifying. This is from what, you know, he was saying, how you identify your thoughts, and how you I want to say reveal is, you know, how you live them out. I don't know, but it's going to be very, very deep and very intense. So please come on out for that. His last session was excellent, was really good. Got a lot out of that. So, you know, just please come for this one. This next one that's going to be on August. I want to say it's the 30th or the 29th. I can't remember because I don't have my calendar right here.
The
But
last,
yeah, the
because
last Sunday,
the 26th is Saturday, so it would be the 27th.
the 27th. Okay, okay. Yeah. Because yep. Because the 28th, that's when the kids go back to school. Ugh. I don't know why so early. But anyway, so that's it for today, unless anybody has anything else they want to bring up. let me tell you this. We're gonna have a session for a movie time. It's gonna be over at Sandra's house here in Williamsburg. I'll get y'all the addresses later. And we're gonna see the movie. What's the movie? T. What's the movie with
We're gonna-
Robin Williams?
A Beautiful Mind.
No, not a
No,
beautiful
not a beautiful mind. What
When
dreams
where
may
the
come.
heart, where the heart
Where-
come. Oh, where
Dreams
dreams come from.
Yeah.
Oh, the dreams that come, or something like that. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
what-
with
Tom.
Robin Williams and Cuba Gooding Jr. It's an older movie, but it's such a good movie. So we're going to be looking at the metaphysical messages that are within that movie. So y'all come on out. And plus, it's my birthday weekend. So whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm looking forward to having some fun. All righty, everybody. Would anyone like to close us out in prayer? Okay, I will. Let's just sit back for a second and just observe all of the wonderful information and sharing that we saw today. Let's just see it in our mind's eyes as we can recall the laughs and the and just the questionings of today's activity. Also, I can see the wholeness in my mind's eye, the frequencies that we have created from today's session, how we are more keenly aware of our situations and our surroundings because of this, and how we'll be of a help and a benefit to our family and friends and community and the world from today's session of understanding our thoughts, picturing our minds, and understanding that our own psychic abilities. And as we move forward throughout the rest of the remainder of this day, let's just allow ourselves to be happy, to be to be kind, to be loving and generous of heart and mind. And with that, we say, and so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is.
All righty, everybody. It was a wonderful time. I had a great day.
Yes, we did.
Peace and
Love
blessings.
you. Bye.
Peace
Love
and
you.
blessings.